Philadelphia. She used to live in Italy, and her husband is Italian. I thought she could help us learn more about ancient Rome. When did you first learn Italian?
Well, I went over there when I was 22 years old, just to go explore Europe. And my little sister was there learning some Italian because she wanted to be an opera singer, and she wanted me to help her pay her rent. So I went there, and then I met my husband very quickly, and I fell in love with him, and so I had to learn Italian so that we could understand each other.
How long did you stay in Italy?
On and off for about 8 years, which was a long time, actually. Long enough to live with his family and learn Italian pretty well.
What was your job there?
Oh, I had a job from an agency that was based there that went to different countries to interview members of their government and then write articles that appeared in magazines.
What ancient ruins did you visit?
Well, fortunately, I did get to do a lot of tourism. So I went to the Forum in Rome, because pretty much everybody goes to the Forum in Rome. But I didn't really, I didn't take the guided tour. A lot of people just go through there, and there's no entrance fee or anything. You just walk through there. So I walked through there many times without actually knowing what was there. But then I went to Pompeii, which is closer to where my husband's family is, and I went there twice and took a guided tour, once in English and once in Italian, and I remember that pretty well.
What was your favorite spot?
Oh, well, Pompeii is amazing, but it's hard to say favorite, actually, because it's very creepy. I think the word would be creepy. It's, there are lots of, they're like mummies. You sort of feel like you're about to be swallowed up by a volcanic explosion.
We were learning about Pompeii and Herculaneum. Do you know where the places got their names?
I don't. I know that they're Greek, and Herculaneum would be Hercules. I don't remember actually what Pompeii comes from. Do you know? No? Okay, well, that's something we'll have to Google. But I know that they were occupied, actually, Naples and some cities that are south of Naples. So if Italy is a boot, let's see if I'm pointing it in the right direction there, right? Okay. Here's Rome, and then here, closer to the toe of the boot, is Naples. Everything south of there is older than Rome itself. So it was Greek. It was populated by Greek. Some of them were vacationers or wealthy people who wanted to set up a nice private, space in a whole other place. Get away from Greece, which had a lot of people, was very populated already, and just hang out in a whole open, free space. So
what interesting artifacts did you see?
Well, the one that stuck with me is the stuff in Pompeii, because it was so well preserved that you actually, instead of like you're visiting a museum, you feel like you're in the houses of these people who, it was about 2,000 years ago, I think. Do you know about Pompeii at all? Yeah? Mm-hmm. So I think it was just after the birth of Christ. Maybe it was like in the 60 or 70. Does that sound right? There was the giant explosion of the nearby volcano, Vesuvius, that it kept everything like it was with the town. The town didn't get destroyed because it wasn't with an earthquake. It was just the explosion, so it got covered so fast that nothing actually broke. It's just exactly as it was. And so basically, some decades ago, they dusted everything off, and there you are. You just go walk around this town like it was about 2,000 years ago.
That's cool.
It is cool.
Can you describe what the houses look like?
Well, most of it doesn't have roofs, but it turns out it's just that they got rid of the roofs because those were dangerous when they started like cleaning it up. they didn't want them to topple on the tourists. But even the roofs were originally still there. So you just sort of imagine you're in a town that's very packed tight, or maybe in the downtown area of your town where all the buildings are next to each other. And then there are lots of courtyards between them, and there are these streets. The streets are very narrow because they didn't have to fit cars, and certainly not SUVs. And there are these pits in them that, like, two trenches on either side where, like, there would be running water on one side, and then I think, like, sewage and human waste and very stinky stuff on the other side. And then houses on either side, and then kind of like a little town in Europe now, they had restaurants here and there, and you can see the restaurants, and like here's a restaurant, here's a bank, and they have it they show you, they have little plaques now that tell you what the different things are, and you can really tell, like, okay, this is a bank, they show you here is the place where they actually kept denari, the money, that they exchanged in ancient Rome, and like the things that look like a cash register even. I mean, not quite like a modern cash register, but and then in the restaurant you see where there were tables, and there are even some chairs preserved, and they're maybe a little more like stools, but it really almost looks not modern, but it makes it seem like 2,000 years ago was not really that long ago.
Do Italian houses now reflect the way they were built in ancient times? No.
That's a good question. Yeah, a lot of Italians now live in houses that are more than 1,000 years old. Not most Italians, but a lot of them. So a lot of towns have a centro storico, which is a historical center. It's the part where the buildings are ancient, and the Italian government and the Catholic Church have spent money to preserve them, to keep them exactly the way they are on the outsides. And then Italians have their homes inside. Lots of times they're very closely packed together, and windows are small, and the houses are stone. But it's strange because you go inside and you feel like you should be looking at something, you feel like inside it's going to be old too. And it's not. It's like a modern house like yours with, stainless steel refrigerators and then tiny little bathrooms. But a lot of Italians do still live in very, very old houses.
Is the mountain still erupting?
That one, Vesuvius, near Pompeii, yes. I think there was an eruption maybe about 50 years ago, and it still steams every so often, and I've been up there to the crater. It's easy to get up there, actually. You can walk up there with children, and obviously they don't let you go over a certain point, but you can look down, and it definitely looks like you could kill a whole lot of people pretty fast if that thing blew up. It could blow up any time, they say.
Is it safe to go near and look at the ruins?
Oh, well, okay. It's definitely safe. It's definitely safe to look at the ruins. A building did collapse a few years ago, actually, but no one was in it, in the Pompeii ruins. But you could ask whether it's safe even to live in Naples at all, the big city that's right near there. They say that another very big eruption is due anytime, and that as many as 200,000 people would not have a way to get away fast enough to escape, like what happened in Pompeii, where it happened so fast that there are still bodies there, covered. They're gray, so they're covered in ash, but they look like you and me, maybe a little shorter, but they're stuck there in a sleeping position, or some of them are actually sitting. Like there's one of them sitting like this, and they just like that. It just happened so fast that they couldn't get away, and now there are even more people living in the same area. And so, is it safe to visit? You just hope there's not a volcanic explosion, but a lot of people live right there right now.
Is there any other interesting experiences you would like to share?
About Italy and ancient Rome. Well, just from the point of view of a tourist, the experience of going and visiting the ruins is, I think everyone should try to do it if they can. because you get like a little shiver down your spine when you realize that the stuff that you studied when you were in 5th grade or 4th or 3rd, maybe the first time you really learn about ancient Rome and ancient Greece, it's really, you get this great feeling of like all of history just like comes alive. It feels very, very exciting. But it's also funny. You want to play outside? Vuoi andare a giocare fuori?
Yes.
Ok, diciamo, vai. Vai a giocare. So, when you go there though, it is funny because you see right next to these ruins that would be in a museum if they were in the United States, you see people going by on motorcycles, maybe 3 people on a motorcycle with no helmets, and then you see people walking around talking on iPhones, and they'll lean up against the ruins and smoke a cigarette or something. It's very strange because Italians are used to having Roman ruins everywhere. They don't think that they're special. It would be just like leaning up against, a stoplight or something here. They almost don't notice what they have in their own city. It's really fun.
Yesterday I heard you saying piano church, and can you explain what that means?
Piano. Yeah, so with my children, because they're young, they don't always know to be gentle. And piano means gentle or quiet or anything softer and with not much force. So I think it may have been my son who was touching his cousin's face, and he was doing it too hard. And I said piano, piano, because it reminds them to be gentle. And so it's funny because that's the instrument that you play, the piano. They call it the pianoforte, which is slow, or it's quiet loud, right? Because you can do quiet or loud with that instrument.
My last question is, how do you say goodbye in Italian?
Arrivederci. Arrivederci.
What does that exactly mean?
Yeah, it does have a meaning. It means to see each other again. Vedere is to see. Rivederci, like we would say reread something, it means read it again. They say the same way. They say rivederci, and ci is us.
Oh.
So they see each other.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sweetheart.